Sir.
Detroit. Last night, Governor Walz suggested that because of your Ivy League education and your Silicon backing your political career, that you yourself are part of the elite. What are your first impressions of them trying to frame you this way to the American public?
Well, look, I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Walz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Walz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre. Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Walz, it's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
I would never, if I am Tim Walz, want to debate J.D. Vance, especially when basically there are veterans that are coming out, and I talked about this on the Millionaire Morning Show. There are veterans that are coming out that are basically saying Tim Walz is not who you think that he is. He is not the person that is as awesome as you think that he is. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to the sponsor of the show, Teach Hanley. 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. And make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. We got Stock Club scheduled. Do not ask me when it is. It is already scheduled. And make sure that you guys tap in order to be able to, get into that live stream. But there are veterans that are basically coming out and saying that, listen, what he has listed on his website as far as, what his position was or what the position was that he held is not even true. They demoted him because he didn't finish or he didn't see through and he didn't meet the criteria that it took in order to be able to list this on his website, on his resume, on any of this stuff that he's getting accolades for. And they're saying that Tim Walz is basically benefiting from marketing himself a certain way, but it's not true. Now, let me preface this by saying that I have the utmost respect for anybody that has ever served in our military, our Army, infantry, Navy, Air Force, because these are the people that protect our American freedoms and they keep us safe. And so it's not a bad thing, or nobody is getting mad at him for saying that, he was a part of the National Guard or he was a part of the military or anything like that. Absolute credit. I think that the veterans deserve all the best health care. They also deserve everything that they get as far as the GI Bill and the benefits and their TSPs and the retirement and everything, right? That's not the issue. The issue is that he's trying to leverage this in order to continue to be incredibly more successful, which we know that the best way for you to continue to resonate in the minds of a lot of the voters is to say that you served in the military, right? It's not that he has that. It's that he lied about what his position was, and he also lied about, deploying and using these weapons in war. And I broke it down and I said it on the Millionaire Morning Show. Y'all need to tap into those live streams. I said it's kind of like us embellishing our resumes in order to leapfrog into getting another position. Yeah, that's cool for regular civilians. But when you're talking about being a public servant, when you're talking about being a president or potentially the president of the United States of America, because we see what happened with Kamala Harris, she didn't even have to go through a primary or anything like that. All she had to do was get handpicked from a diversity, equity, and inclusion position to be Biden's vice presidential pick, and then they leaned on identity politics in order to secure the black and a woman vote, which they did during the Obama campaign, and we keep running the same remix. And I guess since it worked for them, it might as well continue to work for Kamala Harris, and we're going to get her in based off of the fact that she's a woman, not that she was a great district attorney over in San Francisco. But, you know, they're trying to leverage the records of these people when in reality, that's when it should be scrutinized the most, because you're going to be the leader of the free world. We're not talking about a private position where you're getting paid. We're not talking about, you know, some nonprofit that you're participating in. We're talking about becoming a vice president and potentially the president of the United States of America, because we know if she was to ever win, then he would be next in line. We're talking about Kamala Harris, the male version, as far as his liberal thoughts and his policies. They calling him Tampon Tim over there on Fox News, which the rumor is, and now it's been substantiated, that he was basically putting tampons in a boy's bathroom, that he's a gender-affirming, extreme liberal that then tried to leverage his military, the fact that he served in the National Guard or the military, in order to try to secure the vote to say that, hey, listen, I understand what y'all going through. I also served my country, and I was using these weapons in war. And all of the veterans, I mean, it was a ton of people in my chat that was coming out and saying, Anton, no, man, that's not true. Nope, we absolutely despise people that lie on their record. Nope, we do not align with this guy at all. It is a ton of veterans and military members, and obviously I haven't talked to all of them. I can't possibly talk to all of them, but there's a ton of them that was in my chat this morning, and we was getting it in, and it was well over 5,000 people in the live stream on YouTube alone, and a lot of them was saying that, nope, we not rocking with it. It's not the thing that we absolutely stand on, and he need to stand on his record and not what it is that he projects himself to be. They even gave me a term that they say, that they look at these guys that's not really in it, and they said that he was somewhat of a weekend warrior, which again, I can't criticize because I never joined the military. But what I am saying is that integrity is important when you're starting to stand on your past record of what you're going to do for Americans, or how you then stand in front of somebody like a Kim Jong-un or a Putin, a Vladimir Putin, and you're supposed to be representing the best interests of the United States of America. If that's what he was leaning on, or if they didn't do their own due diligence and research as far as the Harris and Kamala Harris and his Biden campaign, because I still think that Biden is a part of it. If they didn't do their research before they vetted this guy and picked him, before they picked Kamala Harris light, or a more extreme liberal version of Kamala Harris, then it shows you the incompetence of them in the first place. I heard that they had conversations with Shapiro, and it didn't go well. And then they wound up going with Tim Walz, who absolutely let Minneapolis and Minnesota burn during the riots and the protests. And I just think that he's a horrible pick. And I know that the vice president is not supposed to be the one that helped determine the election, but again, he's the person that came over to Michigan. Kamala Harris was absolutely catching hell when she tried to do this rally. And J.D. Vance pulled up on him in Detroit, or Metro Detroit, and he absolutely just destroyed him, in my opinion. But I'm curious as to what y'all think. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Can't wait to read y'all comments. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to keep y'all informed. I'm out.